into the conversation. So good afternoon, everybody. This is Debbie Horovich from Social Sparkle and Shine, and I am so excited to welcome you back for another week of Celebrity Hangouts on Air. And we are here with a really special presentation. Of course, you remember we did the 6-part training in the fall, and I'm sure a number of you who are watching this video were participants within that 6-part training. And so as we're all moving forward with our Hangouts on Air, with making sure that we are attracting more celebrity guests, that we're building bigger audiences for our Hangouts, and that we're even generating sponsor revenue for our shows and meeting some really specific business objectives. While we're doing that, we want to make sure that we're bringing in other experts in the industry who can come in and share their experience with us for how we can optimize the Hangout on Air experience. And that would include everything about business sales, media development, publicity development, content development. So we're going to have different experts for you every week. And this week, as you know, our expert joining us is Bert Martinez, and Bert is here to talk to us this week about really whether you're a small business or a big business, but I think if you're a new business, how do you get big media publicity? And Bert and I have had a few conversations ahead of time, so I think we're really excited to talk to him, and we've got a few of our Celebrity Hangouts on Air community members joining us on the Hangout today, and they're going to have some questions for you as well, Bert. So hopefully we'll have lots of questions, and you'll be able to tell us all about it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to be here, and I think that we're going to have a lot of fun and really be able to share some of my experiences as far as getting big publicity for big or large companies. And I want to quickly kind of tell you my story about publicity. I spent a lot of money. First of all, I hired a PR company, and I spent a lot of money, and I started to get really what I want to say. Okay, publicity, you know, a couple of blog posts, a couple of radio shows here and there, but it wasn't very big, it wasn't consistent, and I think I was paying about $2,000 a month for that particular level of service from that company. Later on, there was a gentleman who referred me to his PR company, and I hired them, and that was about $7,500 a month. And I did get a lot of great publicity. I've been on every major media outlet, just about. Fox News, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Success, ABC, NBC, list goes on. All right. Well,
I'd like that.
Yeah, but here's my experience is that even though I could track people visiting my website, right? I could go back and check my analytics, or my people could give me a report, and yes, there would be little spikes that people had, you know, either Googled my name or gone to my website, but for the amount of money that I was spending, I wasn't getting a huge return on my investment. I was not getting a massive amount of sales. I wasn't getting a massive amount of speaking engagements, and I started doing some digging into this, and what I found was that big publicity doesn't necessarily mean big results, doesn't necessarily mean big anything. And the reason why is because typically big publicity, like Good Morning America, has a very segmented audience. So, for instance, if you are a speaker and you speak about business, you know, and you're on Good Morning America, well, some of those audiences are housewives, some of the audience are business people, some of the audience are maybe still in college, and so it's not a targeted market. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay.
To me, it absolutely makes sense. How about you, Roxy?
Absolutely, yes.
And Marva, is it what does that mean to you?
It makes complete sense to me. I used to do when I lived in Toronto. One of the things I used to do was do publicity for someone who did a lot of the reggae shows, and he used to bring Gilberto Gil and Gil Scott-Heron and groups like that. and I used to do very focused, targeted PR for him, and I learned from that experience. So I completely understand what you're saying. Actually,
Great.
Perfect.
And
makes sense.
And it's good to have, big media publicity like Forbes or, Wall Street Journal, because they still do give you credibility. So I'm not saying don't do it, just don't count it being super high on your return on investment. So as I started digging into this, what I have found that, the reason that we do publicity is for people to get to know us, they get to like us, and they get to do business with us, and we have credibility. And those, at least from my experience, that's what I wanted from publicity, right?
Yeah.
And so what I found out is that if I gave the people that I wanted to do business with publicity instead, then I would in turn get the recognition I wanted, I would get the credibility I wanted, and more importantly, I would get the sales I wanted. So
it sounds like you're talking about creating a platform.
Exactly. Kind of like Celebrity Hangouts. OnAir.com might be a platform where you would invite the people that you want to do business with. And so I started doing the same thing.
Isn't that funny, Bert? Are you getting a sneaking suspicion?
So I started doing the same thing, and I found that it works really well. And you can, I've tweaked it so where you can automate the experience. You don't have to, if you don't have the time or the technology or the personality, if you will, to do a Hangouts on air or a live radio show or whatever it is, you can actually automate the experience. And what I started doing is I started interviewing people via my website and via an automated interview process. So literally, I was able to start interviewing about 100 people a month with none of my time whatsoever.
That is cool.
Oh my goodness! Can you give us some more details? I think we all want to dive into this a little bit more. Details, please.
So what I started doing is I went to a company. First of all, the company's called Jotform, JOTFORM.com, and it's free. It's free. It gives you 100 submissions a month. Over 100 submissions a month, then you have to pay $9 or $10 a month for it. So obviously you want to start off with the free to see where you're at.
Yeah.
Then I started. I have a small couple of employees that work for me, and so I started using another company called InfoFree.com for our lead source. Prior to that, I was using Sales Genie, and InfoFree was the same thing as Sales Genie, but about half the price. And so I started targeting companies that did, I believe it was $5 million and above. Because companies with $5 million and above have money to spend on their publicity, on their marketing.
Yeah. This is $5 million a year in revenue?
Yes, $5 million a year in revenue.
Yeah.
And above. Okay?
Yeah.
So what we would do is we would interview the CEO. We would do a request to get the CEO, interview them using our Jot form, and it's all automated. The CEO could upload their pictures. They could talk about their companies. And some of the questions that we asked were relevant to making a sale. So we would ask questions like, how long have you been around?
That makes sense.
How many employees do you have? Right? So
Total sense.
and then, yeah, and so they would answer all these questions for us as part of the interview, and guess what? We knew that they were targeted, that we knew that they had the money, and our closing ratio went from, like 0.5% to a top conversion of about 22%.
Well, and that would be in great part because you are not calling the people. You might interview them and get great content out of them, but if they have demonstrated that they're not a perfect fit to be your perfect client, you're just not calling them with an offer.
That's right. That's right. And I like the way you did that.
I love it.
And we had, when I say automated. So after the interview went live, they would get an email that said, hey, your interview's live, Debbie, you can click on this link. And then a couple of days after that, we would say, hey, did you see your interview? Can you please share it with your contacts? Can you put it on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook? So all of a sudden, that interview would get 200 or 300 views, which gave us free traffic, like-minded traffic, so it's highly targeted. It's other business people that this person knows. And all of a sudden, again, we're getting great traffic for free. We're getting the kind of traffic we want. And this is the fun part. When we would interview somebody, if we really liked them and we thought they were a good match, we would say, hey, do you have somebody that you can refer to us? And we'd easily get 2 or 3 referrals.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, our need to purchase leads decreased immensely. Our work is being done by somebody else. So all the way around, it was a lot of fun. And then we would ask these people to become part of our platform. And again, you know, our platform is a talk radio show to help them get publicity, and we would simply show them, hey, what we did with you is what we're going to do for you, so now you can start interviewing your clients. And you would see people just like, wow, this makes so much sense. They get it. And so we started using media, or what I call reverse publicity, if you will. I started using reverse publicity as a way of getting high targeted leads and traffic for free. And it's a very explosive way of getting sponsorships. It reduces your sales, your sales, what do you call it, pushback or
objections.
Thank you. The objections. And again, you're being looked at as a really cool person. And so when you do call them or send them an email, you have a high open rate. They pick up the phone because they know you for being cool, not for being a salesperson. And we have a very low-key sales approach. We just simply say, hey, this is what we're about. Would you like to know more? And they say yes. A bunch of them say no, but it's okay. It's the easiest way I've ever sold anything.
So let's apply this to Hangouts on Air for a second,
okay,
and talk about Roxy with what you're doing in the Roxy show. How would you apply that to the Roxy show? How would you take that automation and considering now what Bert has been talking about?
Oh, I'm fired up for it because it's a perfect match for exactly what I'm doing. I mean, the Roxy Show is just that. It's a platform to provide publicity. I guess my question is, Bert, do you have some tips or techniques to get around the screeners to the CEOs? Because from my background in sales and marketing, that's always been a challenge.
Sure, and it's always going to be a challenge if you're perceived as a salesperson.
Yeah.
But if you're perceived as a
producer, them.
Yeah, if you're perceived as a producer, you go right past the gatekeeper. So what happens is this. What you would want to do, if you don't have a staff, I would make up a staff. So I would create an email address, and so Roxy, the email address might be from, let's say, whatever, some made-up name, and you're using an alias, if you will, just like actors do, just like singers do. You're not trying to cheat anybody, so it's not a mean alias. It's just an alias, and what it does is your alias can be your executive producer or your segment producer or your content producer. And so you just send them an email saying, hi, I'm Bert, and I am the executive producer for the Roxy Show, and we'd like to interview Joe Bob about his business, about his book, about his whatever. And all of a sudden you start getting these interviews. And it's a lot of fun. And you have very little resistance. That's the word I was looking for before. You have very little resistance.
Yeah. I would say in my experience it was very, very similar. To get Guy Kawasaki asking to be on my show. All I had to do was put the show in front of him where he would see it, and it was clearly created for book authors to come in and have a conversation that they didn't get to have anywhere else on their publicity tour and on their media junkets. So it became really, really easy for me to just put it in front of people, a book author, anyone associated with the book author, anyone who was a gatekeeper. When I said, I've previously had Guy Kawasaki on my show, here's the video of me with Guy Kawasaki, I'm calling because I want to ask for this book author to be on my show, just like Guy Kawasaki was.
People are very flattered to be on a talk show. I found that to be
Yes.
pretty low resistance.
Yes.
Absolutely, and especially depending on who you've had on the show previously, that you can use those names to increase the status and the stature of the people that you're spending time with, the people that you're, I think especially with Google Plus Hangouts on Air, there's a lot of power to what we're demonstrating inside of the thumbnails at the bottom of the screen. The people who are on the Hangouts on Air with you, how they talk and how they present themselves in the show is impactful.
Absolutely. And so, you know, back to what you were saying, Roxy, there's a certain amount of sex appeal is what I call it, a certain amount of attraction that really eliminates those barriers. And if you use it correctly, you will not have to ask for a sale very often. And it's just a matter of putting together a script or a system that invites them if they qualify. So, for example, in a typical sales scenario, you know, it's the salesperson trying to convince you to do business with them. And they're telling you all the bells and whistles, and this is why you should do business with us. Well, when I interview somebody that I'm interested in them doing business with me, I ask them, what are your qualifications? It's called a takeaway. So why should I have you on my platform? Have you written any books? Even though I know that they have you written any books? Have you written any articles? Do you feel comfortable talking to thousands of people at one time? And so I get them to sell me why they should be on my platform. So if they qualify, then I'll tell them, you know, Roxy, after talking to you, I have to tell you, I'm impressed. I'd like to have you part of my platform, and I'll have Amy, who's my segment producer, send over the details, and we'll get you started and go from there. And it has like I said, it has a pretty good closing ratio when you do it effectively. When they smell or see that you're wearing the salesperson's hat, the walls go up, and it's all over, Rover. It's, you know, so it's a complete takeaway. If I was dating, I would tell people it's really playing hard to get, and if you can play hard to get really well, you attract people to you.
Well, I think what you're also doing is very typical media producer.
Yes.
And you are doing a pre-interview on everybody.
Yes.
I will not have anyone on my Hangout who hasn't pre-qualified themselves to be on my Hangout.
And that's what you
it's just
want.
too much of a risk.
Sure.
And I think no matter what you didn't say, Bert, was what medium or what platform you used to publish the interviews that you were capturing.
Okay, so my website, moneyforlunch.com.
Okay.
So and then I have my other website.
Audio or text?
Just text. So when we created the Jot form, right? Then I will send them a list of 5 or 6 or 10 questions. They fill it out. So it takes no time on our part. And we give them a deadline. Hey, Debbie, my deadline is in 3 days. Is that going to be good enough for you, or do we need to have another date for you?
Yeah. And because you can schedule it in.
Yeah, you can schedule it in. That's right.
A week after they send it back, and it's really up to them as soon as they want the publicity, as soon as they want to take advantage. If they don't see value in it, there is really no reason for you to be chasing them. if they're not sure why they want to be on your media channel. I've been introduced to people in the past who didn't understand what it was that I do, and didn't even have had never seen a Hangout or had never seen what I'm doing, and it was it's a little bit difficult to know that comfortably I can have them on my Hangout and that we'll be able to produce great shows together, because I have a responsibility to my audience first and foremost, right?
Right. And so what Debbie's saying is correct. You want to have that air of, I'm doing you a favor. You want to be that total producer or segment producer, and if somebody doesn't see the value, then don't chase them. That's the worst thing you can do. Debbie mentioned Guy Kawasaki. So when my segment producer approached Guy Kawasaki, I think he was, I don't know what he was doing, but he says, hey, I can't do it right now. Can we look at another date? And so that to me isn't chasing, that's accommodating.
Oh, of course.
So you will have that. Now,
oh, yeah.
you will have some people that will tell you, that they might come off and they maybe say, well, I've never heard of Bert Martinez. What's this about? Tell me more. And then what we do is we send them to the website, moneyforlunch.com, and we also send them to our demographics page. And because of Money for Lunch has been around, it was written up in Wikipedia or whatever. It was on CBS, and I bought them from CBS and put them on Blog Talk. It has a little bit of a history, and I have enough successes with it, meaning kind of like Debbie, I interview celebrities from all walks of life. I've had big-time politicians, big-time actors, big-time business people on there. We don't sell ourselves at all. If they, as Debbie said, if they don't see the value, man, there's only like 2 billion people on the planet. We'll get a few of those, right? And even though my show is only USA, basically, there's still 300 million people in the U.S. That's a lot of people.
You're so brilliant, because you're echoing things that I was saying earlier, and I swear, if I could hand you a $20 bill through the camera, I would. It's like we practice that ahead of time. You're echoing exactly what I was saying earlier. So Bert, we spoke last week about what we were going to talk about in this Hangout. I just want to make sure that we do touch on those points, the key points that you sent over. Now, I listed them in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw them there. If you wanted to take a look and just make sure that we have the opportunity to touch on those points, because we do have our viewers who I'm really happy are watching the show live. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why or how, but I didn't get the Q&A app started ahead of time, as per sometimes technical crap happens.
So, all right, so let's talk about this. I already kind of talked a little bit about the biggest mistakes or the biggest myths and mistakes about publicity, and that is thinking that you're going to spend $20,000 a month on high-level publicity and it's going to do all this stuff for you. That's a myth. It doesn't do that. And I'm not saying that you're not going to generate something from it, but it's really not a good return on investment. Not like, let's say, a direct mail piece that might get you 3 or 4 return on one. Publicity is really hit and miss depending on who your audience is. But it's still good to have.
If you were to focus on a niche medium that has a very targeted audience of exactly who your potential customer is, then would that be a more appropriate publicity venue for you to put more of your energy into?
And the answer is that it depends. And the reason why I say it like that is because let's look at Forbes magazine or Success magazine. If you're in the consulting space or the business space like I am, those are 2 of my favorite mediums to get into. So in order for my publicity to work, I have to be in there every month, which is difficult to do because they don't like to do that. So you got to either be in there every month, or you have to advertise 1 or 2 months, and then they give you some publicity, and then you advertise for 1 or 2 months. So it does take time, and publicity, just like advertising, is really a matter of, it's a matter of, time. It's really a time investment. Advertising 3 or 4 times, or being in the publicity or in the media 3 or 4 times is not enough, unless you're lucky enough to be in a in a small town, and and if you're in a small town, and let's say, when I say a small town, let's say it's 10,000 people, and you're in the newspaper on a regular basis, then you might have some impact. But the problem is, you're in a really small market.
Right.
So there's, to me, a lot of, if you turn it around and then you start becoming the resource, and you're interviewing the people you want to do business with, well, first of all, you become a resource. So, and what I mean by that is, if you ask, let's say, the top influencers in your industry to tell you how they overcame a challenge, guess what? You're interviewed them, but you're a resource to everybody else.
Yeah.
So if you interview, let's say, again, the top 10 people in your industry, and you say, hey, how do you reach your goals? Again, now you're a resource to the entire industry, and those 10 people are going to promote you because they just got interviewed by you.
I also tend to look at it like, when I'm planning my Hangouts, and trying to plan a Hangout, of course, that will appeal to an audience, which will then appeal to sponsors, and first appeal to celebrity guests. When I think about it, a lot of what I tend to think about is, what is the problem that I need solving?
Yes.
And can I find peers or people that are struggling even more than I am with the exact same problem? And can I give the celebrity or the influencer, can I be a resource to them as well and give them an audience? Give
Yes.
them an opportunity. What I like about Hangouts is that it gives the influencer, or the person who has more status, I call it the celebrity,
Sure.
that person, it allows me to become a resource for them and connect them to their audience, especially on Hangouts on Air, in a way that they rarely can otherwise.
That's right, and that's exactly it. You're giving them the publicity, and that is a resource to them, and then their content is a resource to everybody else. So one of the other things that you can do is you can interview association presidents. A lot about what we do in business is about who you know and who knows you. Well, so you start interviewing the president of the different associations that your industry is ahead of or involved with. And sometimes, in most cases, I want to say I will get a membership to that association for free, and I will also get tickets to all their meetings for free because I am a resource.
So you could apply this to conventions and trade expos that you wanted to attend. You could
Yes.
say, I would like to interview the organizing committee or the featured speakers along with the marketing VP of the upcoming convention, trade show, conference, whatever it is, ahead of time, as
Yes.
a resource to you to help you sell tickets, to help your speakers meet each other ahead of time, to help everyone be motivated to promote the event. You could do this as well. Certainly I could see how I could apply it to book authors and publishers, and what I'm planning to offer them is and what Roxy and I were talking about this morning was really offering Hangouts on Air as authority videos for professionals. So
Okay.
if you want to be a competitive, personal injury lawyer, or any of the specialized professions where you want to stand out, the Hangout on Air can serve that purpose of creating publicity for you. What would you say, though, about when you're doing these interviews? Are you getting people who are having an audience, or are you getting people, like you're really just using it as an open door to sell them your services?
Great question. First of all, I want to say this, that the size of the size of the audience to your media does not matter.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter if the person understands the strength behind media, because whether 1 million people see this interview or 100 people see this interview, it doesn't matter. The question is, how can you use this interview to further your message? Okay, so to answer your question, I do look for people who are willing to share the interview with their audience, but I don't care if their audience is, 10,000 or 100,000. I guess if they were very small, they probably wouldn't come up on our radar, because I try to interview people who are doing $5 million and above, or who are best-selling authors, or who are big-time, celebrities in their field already. So that's who I try to interview. Yeah. My whole purpose to do the interview ultimately is to build a relationship. And I told the story to Debbie, so I'm going to share the story with you guys. About 25 years ago, a matter of fact, it's 25 years this year. Is it 25 years? 20 years this year. Yeah, 20 years this year. There was a company that had gone they were going out of business. They had gotten delisted from the stock exchange. They were trading at $40, and then they got knocked down to 25 cents. And this company was called Coralco. And they had made movies like the first Terminator, Basic Instinct. They had made several other big hits with Sylvester Stallone. And so I wanted to take over this company. And so I thought, man, if I could get a hold of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I bet you he could help me take over this company, and I wouldn't even need his money. Just his name alone would help me get other investors in. So to make a long story short, I interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is I want to say it's my second time that I had met him, and my first time that I'd ever interviewed him. And so he sat there, he looked at me, and he finally told me, no, I wouldn't be interested in that. But as I tell people all the time, if you're going to get a no, wouldn't it be nice to be pitching people that caliber and above?
Wouldn't it be nice to be getting it publicly and on the air? That you're getting so many people who are thinking in their mind, Arnold, you're stupid, I'll take it.
Right. It would have been nice.
Right, and there's always going to be people who think that whatever is the answer being given is wrong.
Yes, absolutely correct. But here's the deal. So back to relationships. 20 years later, I'm still engaged with Arnold, so to speak. So we've connected on various levels. I will actually be meeting with him this weekend. His publicity people just sent me a pass to his latest movie. So that is from a relationship and a no. So that's a pretty good no.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I think that speaks a lot to something that I talk about sometimes, which is having patience with yourself and patience with the people who you have identified that you would get value out of developing a relationship with. It can be really clear to you, but it can just take time for people to be in the right space to accept your opportunity. And a no right now doesn't mean that they're rejecting you necessarily. It just means that the timing isn't right, or the offer isn't quite right now, or simply that they just don't know you well enough yet.
And that's what it is. A lot of it. You need to take
the time to let them get to know you better. You need to subtly place pieces of information about yourself in front of them, to the point where, like Guy Kawasaki did with me, he asked me, could I be on your show sometime? Right.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, and that is they don't know you, so they don't trust you. And that's what we all have, that same problem. Think about it. If all of a sudden, I started calling you Roxy, or is it Merva?
Marva.
Marva, I'm sorry, Marva. So I started calling
It's
Marva
okay.
or, Roxy or Debbie out of the blue. The first question is, who is this person?
Yeah.
What is it they want? Now, and if you're fairly famous or famous in your community or your industry, you're looking for what's the catch. So like Debbie says, you have to serve them over and over and over again before they say, okay, I trust this person a little tiny bit. Let me go ahead and start communicating with them. Because they're waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah.
When you say, "Hey, now that I've interviewed you 5 times, I want you to give me money."
Well, they know that something's coming. They
right.
know
They're expecting
you didn't
it.
find them because you have a relationship. You found them because you identified them as someone who could benefit you, and you're trying to develop that relationship. So I think that they understand that it's coming, but I also think that there's something to be said for identifying your intentions right off the bat. And being really clear about, I'm not looking for a job, I'm not a potential client of yours. What I'm looking to do in the immediate is this, and what I'm looking to do in the long term is this. And if that's not, if you don't have time to respond to me today or this week, that's totally fine.
And you know what? And my answer to that is, I would probably test that out. And the reason I say that is because being that direct may put you in a category where they say, okay, there's a hook there. Back to what I was saying earlier about serving somebody, I tell you, most big-time celebrities, whether in business, politics, or movies or authors, these big ones all have charities, and those charities are always starving for publicity. So maybe if you find out that they have a particular charity that you really connect with and that you really want to support, you could be best buddies. It happens that Arnold Schwarzenegger has several charities that has to do with children, and I support one of those charities. And so we've continued to develop our relationship. And then a few years ago, I interviewed a gentleman named Dr. Joe Vitale. And I don't know if you guys know Dr. Joe Vitale. He was in the movie The Secret. He's a multi best-selling author. Anyway, started interviewing Joe again. I started helping him with his charity. And he ended up being a 6-figure client of mine. So, all from that. And we just developed that relationship. And back to what Debbie said, we really developed that trust level. And once you become a trust agent and you do stuff for them, and maybe you connect them with other people, then you become a valuable resource. And that's really what it's all about. Let's see. So that's how you become a resource and an influencer in your industry, and you can really make a massive difference and real quick, guys, by the way, I wanted to bring this up since Debbie brought up trade shows, which is a great idea. What I have done successfully multiple times is you contact the leaders of the trade show and you say, hey, we want to interview, not only the executive committee, but some of your vendors. Here's my information. Send this out to your vendors. Send this list out to your vendors. And what has happened on multiple occasions, those vendors will connect you and say, hey, I want to be interviewed. And then we start to talking, and I'll say, hey, if you'd like, we will give you an exclusive, and we will really make your booth pop because we'll bring money for lunch to your booth, and it's only $1,500. And all of a sudden, I am there. I'm being paid $1,500 for the day plus expenses, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a live show, yada, yada, yada. So there's so many ways that you can end up using it.
I'm taking notes. I don't know about Roxy. Marva.
It's a lot.
I hope you both are getting huge value out of this because, gosh, I am. It's really not the conversation I expected, Bert. But
well, I hope you're surprised pleasantly, or pleasantly surprised.
I absolutely am.
Definitely.
I absolutely am, and we've got a number of viewers. So I hope that if you're having questions for Bert, certainly you can ask those questions on the Google Plus page or on the YouTube page or wherever you're watching. You can reach out to Bert. I know the link that he sent me, my fault. I should have sent him a proper lower third, like a proper producer before the show. I generally try and send people, my guests, the lower third ahead of time. The website that you were wanting to promote was askbertmartinez.com?
AskBertMartinez.com. I was just going to pop it up there. So AskBertMartinez.com.
And that's one of the benefits of coming on Celebrity Hangouts on air. Of course, you are pre-qualified as someone who can help our Celebrity Hangouts on air producers make more of their Hangout on air productions. I think there are way too many people that are producing media that could be monetized, but they're not taking advantage of it. And a lot of people really focus on monetizing their media channel and their production directly, which I think is it's a challenging way to go about business, because it's almost like you're being too direct about your sales intention rather than becoming a valuable resource to your clients and proving your value before you start charging them.
Right. And guys, by the way, I don't know if you guys have heard this expression. It's called content is king. So content is the most valuable thing out there. So if you get somebody who writes a really good article for you or produces some really good content, maybe you give that to them for free forever, but you can put ads around that precious content. The way we monetize a lot of our content on our website, moneyforlunch.com, is you will see ads placed inside the content. And so so when we interview somebody, they'll, sooner or later, not always, but somebody will ask, well, how do you guys make your money? And we'll let them know, well, your interview is going to be sponsored by one of our, your interview is being sponsored by one of our advertisers. Oh, okay, great. So are you guys familiar with this thing called affiliate marketing?
A little bit, but I think certainly there will be people in the audience, our growing viewership live. There will be people who I think maybe have a negative viewpoint of what affiliate marketing might mean, or maybe just don't know what it is. So please explain.
All right, so let's say that you did an interview and you interviewed somebody about, let's say, health and fitness. And let's talk about, fat loss, or maybe getting in shape for a wedding. That could be a very huge topic, and it's going to be primarily female-centric, but that's okay. So in that content, if you didn't have a specific product that you own, you could put a link in there for other products that you like, and when they buy those products, you get a commission. So it could be, there's a company called Sappos that's now owned by Amazon. So you could put a Sappos link in there to find those perfect wedding shoes. Yeah. Boom, you get a commission. You don't have to ship it. You're not worried about a refund. You're not worried about anything. You just get a commission. The other thing that you can do with content, let's say that you interview a best-selling author, and in that interview, what's that?
Many times. I have content of myself interviewing best-selling authors many times that I haven't yet monetized. So I'm about to, but I'm happy to hear what you've got to say.
Okay, so Guy Kawasaki. Matter of fact, if I'm gonna take a second here. Hold on.
Okay. I hope everyone who's watching is getting huge value like I am. This is one of the best hours of this training we've done.
So, Guy Kawasaki sent me a copy of his book.
Yep.
And
I've got one right behind me too.
There you go. I always have the authors autograph the books. It's my personal thing. So when I interviewed Guy, I also put a link to this book, right? It goes to my Amazon affiliate link. So I'm promoting his book, not because I'm going to make a bunch of money, but because I have read it and I believe in what he's talking about. Yeah. So because I believe in it, therefore I'm going to monetize it. Is kind of my deal.
Well, so but you don't monetize it. It's not a huge monetization for you, but I think indirectly it is in the addition of your value to Guy Kawasaki. What
Yes.
you're demonstrating is that you are committed to helping him make money.
Yes.
If he will consider returning to your show, that he will have a positive experience again the second time, that you will continue to support his business dealings even after he's been on your show.
That's right. That's right. And just to let you know, on average, again, to make your point, on average, from my different little affiliate things, I make about $150 a month from an interview that I did a year ago.
Right.
And then again, depending on what your show's all about. For the other thing that I have used my show for is, again, we were talking about health and fitness earlier. We had a lady on the show who's called the Juice Lady, and she's all about juicing, and she got me inspired. So I had my segment producer contact all these juicer manufacturers, and I got 4 juicers sent to me to try out and talk about on air. So you can use it that way. It's not going to, are you going to get rich because you got 4 juicers? No, but one of them alone was a $300 juicer.
And one of them might hire you to do a separate white label specific whatever it is that you produce in that medium, whatever medium it is that you're demonstrating your capability and your ability in. I mean, here we're talking about Hangouts, but really it can apply to anything. And I know that many people are coming into Hangouts production to add to, sorry, you're rocking.
I know, I saw.
Bert's sitting in a rocking chair, and I had a bit of motion sickness before we went live, so.
And the bad thing is I locked it in place, so that's just my body rocking. It's not even the chair.
He's got a natural wave to him.
It's that Caribbean rhythm. I'm from Cuba originally, so you know.
Got a little flow to you, I guess. Okay. I think it makes so much sense, though, because there's so many different ways that you can create value and demonstrate that your audience enjoys the content. I think for myself and for Celebrity Hangouts on Air specifically, what I'm doing, how I'm monetizing the Hangouts, which is these Hangouts, like this one with Bert, and next week our special guest actually is Roxy Firestone. I'm really excited to have her back and talk to her more. And but the value and the way that I'm monetizing these Hangouts is that I'm placing them inside of the Celebrity Hangouts on Air community and then charging a small amount of money for access to all of the videos. So it's anyone can watch publicly, and it becomes a like a media production. The more public your initial show is, the more people can talk about it and comment on the show. And it's one of those things where you can always choose to decide to either take clips of the content and distribute those publicly, or you can even take, my intention with Celebrity Hangouts on Air is that I take the video content that I produce. It gets locked up inside of Celebrity Hangouts on Air, but it's also available to Bert for him to do whatever he wants with. And he can make it available for free to his entire audience because it only benefits me the more people who see it.
That's right.
And I don't actually lose anything by having Bert's audience see me interviewing him, but them not paying to be a member of my community because they probably aren't a fit for members of my community anyways. So it's that sort of, I think, adjustable and free-flowing value that you can apply to what you do, like getting creative about it and understanding that in different situations you can package up the content that you have previously produced and give it to someone in a way that is valuable. Sometimes if it costs you nothing to deliver, it will be most valuable both to you and to them and to the audience if you also charge nothing for it.
Absolutely. And something to consider, there's a young lady that interviewed me a couple of years ago named Marnie, M-A-R-N-I-E, also from Canada. And she does something similar to what you do. And what she'll do is she'll do several shows about a certain topic. Maybe it's on marketing, maybe it's on fitness, maybe it's on whatever. She puts those 3 or 4 or 5 shows together, and she sells them just like you do for $9 or $10 because the content's that good. And so back to content being king. So something that you could do with your Google Hangouts is you could just use the the audio portion and upload it to iTunes podcast. Yeah. Because now you're grabbing a different audience, and since and so they may be intrigued enough to go, wow, who is this Debbie? I want to check out Celebrity Hangouts on air.com. They're going to go there to see your other content. So you can use that content over and over again. Another way that you can monetize your content is there's these things called books. And so believe it or not, this right here could be a book. Yeah. You could you could transcribe the audio.
You can. Creating books out of video it's more challenging. It is a project that requires some effort. So there are some things that you can do to repurpose your content that require very little effort. Right. There are some things that you can do to create audience for your content that require very little effort. And there are some things that will require a lot of effort and that you really need to hire someone who's qualified to help you at least choose what are the right pieces to include in the repurposed content. One thing I did want to point out around content is king. When you're planning for the interviews, how do you ensure that content is king, that the content that you're creating will have value to potential sponsors, will have value to an audience who you're asking for their email address or who you're asking to pay to access this content? How do you pre-plan ahead of time a show that will have value?
It's a great question. I do a lot of my shows based on something that you said earlier, stuff that I want to know. Because, for instance, and this is the great thing about doing what we do, guys, is like if I want to get some advice on a legal matter for my business, I will interview several attorneys who are in that niche, and I'll figure out, I know what to do. I'll ask them point blank.
I've been saying for a few months I really need to do some interviewing with medical professionals in certain areas where I have some concerns. I want to know ahead of time what is the advancements in medical technology, and certainly they're looking at Hangouts on Air and the new social media to advance their business. So it's something that makes sense.
Absolutely. And again, you could take it one step further. If you have a small video camera, you could take that on your medical appointment and really make it into a show. And there you go. Hi, this is Debbie. You're going to see me going through this. And you may not want to show everything, but you can have that interview and you can talk about it. So there's a lot of ways you can use that to your advantage. So
are there legal considerations around bringing a camera into your doctor's office?
Well, you would have to sign some paperwork. I've done it, and yes, there is.
Just to warn people. You might not want to, surprise your doctor with a running broadcasting live video camera.
That's right. So
you do want to get permission of people before you start broadcasting them.
That's right. That's a very good point. So the other thing that I do to find really luscious content, there's a site called digg.com. See what people are voting on. See what are the top headlines. There's another site called Amazon. See what books are being bought. Okay, what music is being bought, and then you can go to Google Trends and see what's trending. Yeah. Right. Then Twitter has their own trending.
It can be about anything, but I really recommend that people stay focused on your niche. Stay focused on what you are passionate about. And when you look at Google Trends, when you're looking at Digg, when you're looking at even Google Search or Amazon, my recommendation really is find the niche media, find the trade publications, the trade magazines that are still in print that all have online websites, and every single one of the book authors in your category that are celebrity book authors are going to be in the print media. They're going to be in the television medium. So if you can find a television show that targets your audience, it's the celebrities who are on the media junket, who are on the media tour, that will be the most open to being on your show right away. So if you see a book author who is relevant to your subject matter of your show on a particular television show, Good Morning America or whatever, but talking about what's relevant to you and your show, you can reach out to them right away and try and book them anytime in the next little while. You have no idea how long they're going to be on book tour for or what their schedule might be like, but the earlier you reach out to them and start the relationship, the sooner you'll get to that point where they know, like, and trust you enough so that they will come onto your show.
Right. And so then my other thing, if you really just want to niche down on your niche, there's this thing called Google Alerts. It's a free clipping service, and I would do a Google Alerts with your name on it.
Yeah.
I would do a Google Alerts for the keywords that are of interest to you. And so what happens every day, Google will send you the latest medias and blogs that are using these keywords. And that way you can quickly go there without spending time searching anything. You go straight right there. You can say, oh, they are talking about money for lunch, but it's in the wrong context. I'll delete that one. Oh, they are talking about, this particular keyword in the right context, and I like this. Boom. And so you could take that information. You could now contact the person who wrote that blog or interview, and you're up and away. And that way you can really stay within your niche. The other way, by the way, and I guess we're almost out of time, so I want to jump into this because I started to talk about creating a automated sales machine for your business. Yeah. And as I said earlier, you interview them, you send them an email that you're going to telling them that the email that the interview is live. You send them another in that same email. Please ask, you're going to ask them to spread the word with their contacts. Then a couple of days later, they're going to get an email asking for referrals. Another couple of days later, you're going to get another email saying, hey, again, I want to say thank you so much for being on my show. You really were awesome. Would like to talk to you about doing more. Okay, and that's very intriguing. What does that mean? I don't know, but it works. So I want to talk to you about doing more. And again, you're going to have about 50% of the people who you've interviewed say, yes, I'd love to talk to you about doing more. And then you get them
they know in their head what they think you mean.
Yes, it is a word. It is a word play.
You know exactly, and they agree. Yeah.
That's right. And so then you have to have your sales pitch. And it could be over the phone. I have a small sales team, and they do that over the phone. Or you can also do an automated one. We have that as well. And it's basically you on a video saying, hey, Bob, enjoy, or hi, you're watching this video because you were recently on my show, and I think you may qualify to do more stuff with me on my show. And before I talk with you, I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, completing this application because, as you can imagine, I can only have certain levels of people on my show. And if you would please take 5 or 6 minutes to complete this application, then I will personally talk to you on the phone, and we will put together a strategy that works for you. Mm-hmm. Boom. They're super intrigued. They verified who they are. They are dying to do business with you. So when you schedule that appointment, they're going to be very open. And you just have to be really, again, it's having a takeaway, what I call a takeaway sales script, where when you're asking them for money, you simply ask them in a way that doesn't sound like you're saying, hey, by the way, we have, we sell this and it's got this bell and this whistle. It's more like coming across saying, Bob, after looking at your qualifications, I think that you really do qualify to be part of our platform. And, the rate to be on our platform is only X amount of dollars per month. We do this for you and that for you, and that's basically it. And again, you're going to have 80% of people who will tell you no, 20% will pay you every month to be part of your platform if you set it up correctly. And if you have questions about how to do that, you can go to askbertmartinez.com, askbertmartinez.com, and I'll be glad to schedule a time to speak with you and show you how to do that. It is a very automated process. It's a lot of fun, and it allows you to create money month after month after month, kind of like what Debbie's done, just on a bigger scale.
on a much bigger scale. Knowing
on a much bigger scale.
How much I've been generating the last few months, I think everyone in my audience knows that I was busy breaking and rebuilding my entire business model. So I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I really haven't been earning the last few months, and now is the time when I am launching. But I'm looking to go back and not only say that, I had failures in the past, but really to learn from all of my past experiences, including all of the valuable interviews that I did. And there's so much opportunity, even if you have planned a hangout well, even if you don't have time to market it and take advantage of it right away, if you plan it well, that's how you get the king of content.
Yes.
That you can continue to monetize. I'm now able to monetize my interview with Guy Kawasaki because of something that happened on Google and YouTube that I could have never predicted a year ago, that only happened in December, which is that YouTube decided to take all of the Google Plus comments on Hangouts on Air that had been done almost since the beginning, I would suppose, and automatically put them onto your YouTube video. So where I had a YouTube video of myself interviewing with a panel of others, Guy Kawasaki, and there were 0 comments on the YouTube video for 11 months after I recorded the video, in one day in December, that video on YouTube is now covered in comments from Guy Kawasaki and his audience and everyone who was watching.
Nice.
And those comments are more than a year old now, but it just became available. So there's nothing more important that you can focus on than creating a positive experience for the people who are on your Hangout and getting really great content. For me, that preparation that creates good content is knowing a little bit about what people are talking about when they're in the media, and finding the questions that you still haven't gotten answered. That to me is the content that is like a blue ocean strategy, that is creating content is king, because you're not competing with everyone else who's interviewed Guy Kawasaki and asking him the same questions. You're giving him an opportunity to have a completely different conversation.
I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, it's a little bit over an hour.
It is.
And,
yep. So thanks so much for the extra time. We always go a few minutes over, and I have to learn how to curb that up in my media interviews. But thanks so much for joining us, Bert. You are a member of the Celebrity Hangouts on Air community. You have all access pass to the website. So we hope that we'll see you inside of the social media communities, and that you'll be there. And any of us that you want to interview on your For Money for Lunch, if we qualify, I'm sure it would be fun to go through that process. And certainly, like you said, Bert is available at askbertmartinez.com in his lower third. And thank you so much as well to our guest today, Marva. I really appreciate your participation inside of the Celebrity Hangouts on Air community. It gives me great pleasure to know
it's fantastic.
Thank you
Really,
so
really
much.
good.
I hope you continue to come back to our trainings. We've got some really exciting people. Next week, Roxy will be our guest, and Roxy has lots of history as well with broadcast media, so she's going to share with us some insights, and I'll get the landing page up for everyone to register for that, hopefully later today, if that's okay. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. This is CelebrityHangoutsOnAir.com. If you want to join the community and be on the Hangouts with us in the future, go to celebrityhangoutsOnAir.com/join 2014, and just to let you know, it's because there's a limited number of memberships. I'm limiting the total number of memberships available at 2014 total memberships. We're not there yet, which is fine, but I do expect at some points that the community will grow in bursts, and I want the opportunity to be able to make it available to everyone really affordably at the beginning, and then make additional communities available to people at higher prices when we've all established a lot more of our credibility. So thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see everyone again next week.